Hi guys, you're watching Hello Crypto Kitty 2.0. Today I'm joined by Sholi Goodman and Mel Vera of Real Items, an NFT platform that's creating NFTs from real world items. Check it out.
Super good. Super good. Super happy to be here.
Awesome. You guys are taking real items, physical items, and creating them into NFTs with real items. Is that correct?
That would be the low-hanging fruit, yes.
So for some of the listeners, we have talked about NFTs in the past, but maybe someone watching is new to the NFT world. How would you explain NFTs or non-fungible tokens to the average Joe watching?
So NFTs are a way in which you can take any asset, really, like let's say a painting, and you can use a smart contract and make that asset digital, which now means that the smart contract allows you to have royalties. So whenever something gets sold, that artwork gets sold, you can choose if you'd like to make 10, 15, 20% of the resales. And as long as the NFT is purely decentralized, meaning that it was launched using a platform that stores the metadata on decentralized server, this NFT can live on forever. That's the goal with NFTs, that they do this. But it is important to note that some platforms don't store their metadata completely decentralized. So it's something for you to be aware of.
That's really interesting. I think that has amazing implications for independent artists as well, because a lot of times, as we know, unfortunately, independent artists or small artists have lost royalties and profits in some of their works. I think that's amazing.
Not just small ones. Some of the biggest artists in the world in this space, and in general, I've been on calls with, I don't want to drop names, so I'll be good. But I've been on the call with some of the biggest auction houses, both in real life. So some of the auction houses that that everybody is aware of, as well as some of the NFT platforms that didn't build. They built so quickly that they didn't build like peer-to-peer private sale royalty mechanisms, and so they're losing out on millions of dollars of royalties because of a glitch in a smart contract or a poorly designed platform.
Yeah, so that's really important because intellectual property is, a huge thing going forward in the 21st century.
We had interestingly, I think this is helpful. Mel and I are on the board of a charity, actually, it's Mel's project, but I'll let her explain it and then I'll share. It educates minority youth and underprivileged children in blockchain, NFT, art, and try to give them a funnel to higher education and skill sets for as we call Web 3.0 or Life 3.0, as we create a connected universe. The interesting part I was going to say is this morning I literally woke up to a call from one of my artist partners who is, again, one of the biggest artists, certainly in general, in entertainment and other things. And he found out that some of his work had been put up for sale as NFTs without his permission.
Yeah.
And then about 30 other of the world's biggest artists had the same thing happening to them. And so the discussion about normal remedies, which is, as a lawyer, suing or trying to get funds back through the legal manner, doesn't really work in the NFT space or in the crypto space because you are anonymous addresses, right? So KYC doesn't necessarily control that. And B, is that really the solution you want? As an artist, they wanted the person who did it punished. They wanted money from the sales, of course, and they wanted the consumers to have actual authorized pieces of art that they thought they purchased. So instead of just suing, which we'll probably do as well, we're going to relaunch the entire project, kind of like my brother just said, the Taylor Swift approach.
Yes. I was just talking about Taylor Swift relaunching her album.
So we're going to do that. We're going to launch the project as it should have been, authenticated by the artists themselves, and then fix the issue with the creators, allow them to have authentic pieces out, and airdrop the buyers authentic pieces so that everybody wins, and hopefully the public admonishment gives the punishment for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's super important, right? Because there's so many artists like that are getting into the industry, and things like we were mentioning earlier, like the platforms, or there's areas where some of the tech makes it seem like it's a gray area, but it's not like copyright infringement, not okay. You know, like NFTs are purely decentralized. Okay. NFTs are centralized, not okay. Right. So it's like, it's just education, really. And it's important to keep in mind, you know, when these things happen, it's not the fault of the blockchain. It's not the fault of the space. It's not the fault of the creators. It's that there are bad actors in general, right? And so, yeah.
That's a really good point. It's like when, you know, someone gets an email from a Nigerian prince. Nobody says it's a USD scam, right? So when people get scammed from Bitcoin, they go, well, it's a Bitcoin scam. It's like, no. They're using Bitcoin as that medium exchange because it's so valuable. Just like, you know, like I said, when scammers or hackers try to get money, nobody says it's a USD scam. And so I think that's a really important point that you're making. We talked a little bit about NFTs and intellectual property and art, but it's not just artwork, right? So you can do it to music. You can put an NFT on what you're doing, physical items, a collector's item jersey, things like that. So I think maybe we could talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of people right now are associating NFTs with purely artwork and digital art.
So I don't know how deep down the rabbit hole we want to go, but
let's do it. We have 25 minutes.
Okay. So art as NFTs. So it's funny, as the progression goes forward, people's understanding of what is what and how they associate, right? So the main goal of how crypto solves global currency is by adoption, right? The more people that adopt it, the faster they adopt it, the harder it is to regulate or to control it, right? And crypto represents a global currency whereby borders don't matter as much.
Yes.
Which is an interesting interplay with law, right? So where do laws stop and start in terms of jurisdiction? When you have, Real Items is built on IPFS, which is interplanetary file systems. We're ready to go to the moon or to Mars. On a web,
like, that sounds not real, but I know.
But it is real.
It is, but it doesn't sound. It sounds like something from a film, right? Like a sci-fi film from the 80s.
It kind of is. And to put it simply, as I think Mel taught me, or David taught me, my partner at Real Items, essentially right now, if you upload stuff to the web, you can have duplicates. And so it's doubling or tripling, quadrupling, or infinitely sagging the data on the internet. Web3 only allows for one version of that file to exist at a single time. So it's literally preparing to be able to send data to Mars and the moon with Starlink. Going back to your question.
My original question was, a lot of people associated with artwork and because that's what they've seen, you know, in the news, in the mainstream media, is, hey, this one painting, digital painting sold for 70 million or whatever. And so I feel like that's what is being represented right now. And so when you're talking about creating non-fungible tokens for music or other IP or physical items, I just wanted, maybe you could explain that further for some of the listeners and watchers of the show. The idea of so art didn't choose NFTs. NFTs chose art, and the world chose art because it's a speculative market in general. It's something that the average person doesn't usually invest in, but we know that the rich do as a store of value. And like Bitcoin and other cryptos are stores of value. Art was low-hanging fruit in terms of being able to have something tactile and visual that people could then learn the words NFTs. But NFTs have nothing to do with art. They have to do with authentication of anything and the provenance of the blockchain. So if you think of blockchain as time, right? What happened an hour ago, or on the phone call with these old artists this morning who are telling me that they don't want NFTs, and I had to kindly tell them it's too late. The NFTs are in the world. There's nothing you can really do besides try to get them back and burn them. Art was used as the simplest medium to bring in as many people as possible to adopt crypto so that more people are using crypto, while at the same time, apps and platforms are making it more seamless. Only a year ago, the complication of getting someone to download a wallet, understand crypto, hashes, wallet addresses, seed phrases is incredibly cumbersome. And the only way that crypto becomes truly global is through the slick of onboarding. And NFTs as art is a slick of onboarding.
Yeah, and I mean, like NFTs and art have been around for a while, right? Like 4 years, like 3, 4 years ago, we were doing NFTs and art. So this isn't new. Also, you know, like there's so many different use cases. You can have experiences, you can have event tickets, you can have memories, you can have
Memories.
Yeah, we said it at the same time. You can have memories, you can have products, right?
So let's talk about a real world example. Like say someone has a soccer jersey that they want, like Lionel Messi's soccer jersey, right? So we create a non-fungible token for
Sorry.
no worries. We create a non-fungible token and tokenize that jersey. How would you add a memory to it? How would the original owner get that residual royalty income, just for the average listener who might not understand this world?
Well, a jersey is a physical item, right?
Yeah.
So you would put an NFC chip with the product, and this
like
way,
a QR code.
Yep.
right? And this way you can verify, and you would upload. Like it would be best if you can do an augmented reality of it or a 3D version of it, so that the user in the community can interact and see it. But you would digitize it through either a picture or some 3D modulation of it, and go to a platform and launch it as an NFT, and you choose the royalties. And if for example, if you use real items, you'll be able to do that entirely and show the supply chain process of it and show the from start to end, shipping, everything included.
Yeah. So for the average listener, I'm thinking kind of like a FedEx tracking.
Yes, but immutable.
Yes.
And event driven, not data driven, meaning you don't supply the inputs are gathered.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have supply chains, which are almost every supply chain right now, where people are inputting data, you have to trust the person inputting the data. You have to trust they're going to put it in at the time that they're going to put it in, and that it's accurate across the entire spectrum. With real items, for example, we have scanners and sensors inside of manufacturing facilities. We actually have it in the doTERRA manufacturing co-packer in Brazil, whereby the QR code or the barcode scanner gets automatically scanned throughout. So we're not relying on human input. It's immutable and trusted because it's automated.
And also because it's on the blockchain, it's in a public forum. So if the chip gets damaged or whatever, that information is retrievable, which I think is really important for people to understand, because I think a lot of people don't understand that there's multiple aspects to it, right? Like if you lose your wallet, as long as you have your private keys, you can go in and get that money. So it's the same concept.
When people talk about losing their seed phrase, it's just like losing your social security. Like you don't want to lose your social security, right? Or like any very important passcode that you don't give anyone. Your seed phrase shouldn't be the example of social security, because you give other people your social security.
Right? Never give anyone your seed phrase.
Because wipe that from your memory. Wipe that from your memory. But the other thing I was going to say in terms of like NFTs and supply chain is it's hilarious because the world right now is having a huge issue in supply chain.
I know Christmas might be canceled.
No, I mean, but it is, right? And so in Renault, for example, in Colombia, Renault is using blockchain for supply chain purposes because they have another part in the world where they make the parts, and in Colombia they assemble the parts, and the cars were just not working well, and there's a lot of issues with them. So what's the issue? Where in the supply chain is the issue? Normally, you can't really trust because it's centralized and people can manipulate the data. So instead of that, by using things like sensors, agricultural positioning, and more with APIs, you can then put that onto the blockchain and know exactly where the issue of your supply chain is from. So as a user, it's super transparent,
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons it's so important to people, because you can be trustless. And unfortunately, we've lost trust in a lot of our institutions and our government because of things that are happening. So this is creating a transparent world where you can't really fake it.
Yeah.
I'll point out two funny things. One is sad but funny, and the other one is fun. Hope I remember the second memories and digitals. Okay. First one is so we at Real Items, by the way, our DAO NFT platform is called NFTG.live. You can still get memberships. Actually, that's where we offer our phygital NFTs for sale. I guess I'll start with the second one first. Then.
And phygital is your physical digital.
Yes, it's a digital asset buoyed by a physical asset.
In case the fans are like, "What did he just say?"
Oh yeah, I'm so deep in it, I forget that it's not
digital.
For example, we embed anything from a QR code to an NFC chip to synthetic digital DNA that's tamper-proof into our physical items. So when you buy, let's say, a Jeff Hamilton jacket on our nftg.live website, you can upgrade to a physical jacket that will arrive at your home, while you also have the digital that you can wear. You can have as your PFP, your profile picture, but you can also wear in the metaverse. So if you're playing, I don't play games. Sandbox, you can wear your flex jacket besides for just flexing on your social media.
That's like the ultimate nerding out, right? You can wear it digitally and you can wear it physically.
Or you can store your physical in a museum or a vault so it doesn't get ruined and utilize your digital.
And you could also do that to your digital. You can put it in a museum or a vault or a gallery on the metaverse and just display it.
Yes, that's like.
So going back to the first one, which was, so we approached a pharmaceutical company, actually two of them, and we were going to NFT the proportions of their active ingredients and everything that's in their medication. I won't say the name of the company for legal reasons, but we got through the entire process, and at the last stage, when we got to the CEO to actually implement and start tracking, they disappeared off the face of the earth, and this happened twice. A couple months later, there was a news article that came out that said they were putting in 1% of the active ingredient of what they said they were.
Oh, wow. So that transparency created an issue for them.
They didn't want transparency.
And that's like the biggest thing of this all, right? So a lot of companies don't want this transparency, right? And that's why overall we have lived in a world where most of our processes are centralized. And even if they say, oh, we're showing you, how do you know that that data is true? And that's the truth. So it's really important as well, because as consumers, we're getting more and more conscious. We're looking at organics, we're looking at natural, we're looking at all these things. These are buzzwords, markets are growing. And so how do you trust those companies? How do you know that you are, buying into the right product? Yeah. Well, you also need to, in this way, you're incentivize companies that are functioning in a sustainable or transparent way, because now you're able to bridge their consumers and show, hey, exactly, and hold them accountable. And they can show, hey, no, I'm the real deal. So now consumers can go to those businesses and really create a true loyalty and trust with them, right?
And it's not just a business thing, because, I was just working with a nonprofit and they are in trouble, big time trouble, because they're not using their donations as, promised. So they're supposed to use a certain amount of donations for a certain reason. And you're laughing at me. What's happening?
I've been talking about minting charities for months now, and had a conversation with my brother yesterday where we're going to empower volunteers and people doing the charity to be rewarded, but also at the same time,
for doing
when you donate that money, you see exactly where that impact is.
That's
so you're
amazing.
Not donating to a charity and hoping that they donate, which basically only makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Right? Versus actually being connected. John, be quiet. Directly connected to the actual end recipient, and then you can create a closed loop ecosystem between you and the recipient, which is kind of what we do with physical items. By adding NFTs into them, you can add memories. We just got our standard approved by Ethereum. I think it's IEEP 422, whatever it is, where we can add memories. So after you get your physical item, right, and you've tracked it along the supply chain, so you know where it came from, its efficacy, every step till it gets to you, you can now add your own memories into the life of your experience with that physical item, which brings that physical real item to life. So when you pass that on to your kids or you resell it, you're not just selling the physical item with the story that you tell.
You're selling the memories as well.
You've embedded the experience time into the blockchain. Yeah.
And
that's amazing.
And to bring light in terms of like impact and like how this looks in the industry, there are organizations like T for Transparency or Glass that have been around that work with charities to be completely transparent of their financials and their bank accounts, including crypto as well. So it's really cool. And actually, because they were having a hard time incentivizing and having foundations actually be transparent of their financials, they've created a foundation to sponsor and support foundations that are transparent with their funding. And it's one of those things where, you know, right now in the industry, there's so much talk about NFTs for impact, and it's about really seeing the impact on chain. And there's, you know, projects coming out that are really focusing more on donating through every NFT. So it's super cool to see that come out.
It is amazing. And I think it's really important because right now there's no recourse except for, you know, demanding an audit or having a lawsuit or doing something which, no offense to lawyers, can be very...
No, I want to automate. My goal is to automate wills and trusts, automate real estate so that you can't have... So technically speaking, you're not allowed to file a lien on a property under certain circumstances, right? Or do transfers, but your only recourse is to, after the fact, try to unwind or...
Everything's after the fact, but with smart contracts, it can be automatic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. And then permissionless, exactly. So you don't have to trust. It's a trustless system, but it brings and creates more trust.
Well, it's right. We say verify, right? Yeah. So it's about verifying the data and the information. That's why we say it's important to know where it's coming from. It's important that it is decentralized. And I wonder if like people know what we mean when we say that, like the data is decentralized, right? Because we say that. And I wonder if they know what it means. Basically,
it means Solana can't go down when there's a node issue.
I don't think they'll understand that either.
Oh, okay.
It basically means normally, like if you think of a document, right? Let's say you have a Word document, and normally that's stored on your Google Drive. And so you can access it, it's centralized, you can manipulate it, whatever. But what if instead of it being stored on your Google Drive, bits and pieces of that, it was broken up into bits and pieces, and it was shared in Sholi's Google Drive, my Google Drive, your Google Drive, someone else's Google Drive, blah, blah, blah. So all that data is now broken up in pieces all around, and they're in nodes, right? And so now try to change it. You're going to have to convince this whole network, right?
Exactly. And that's the power of it's that network. I feel like it's more like the Word document is just on your laptop instead of Google Drive.
You're right.
It's the centralized version. Right. The centralized version is that it's on your laptop and your laptop has crashed and that's it.
And your laptop has Wi-Fi, yes.
And exactly. Yeah. So the verification is happening across multiple people, multiple networks, multiple miners, and that allows it to be verified as true and correct and honest and the real authentic thing.
Correct.
That's the basis of proof of work, which is the foundation of Bitcoin. And realistically, it should be the foundation of everything. I'm not a big fan of proof of stake, and I'm not a big fan of minimizing the authentication process in the hopes of creating, utility. I think I'm looking forward to third parties to bridge the gap between more robust proofs and real world utilization in terms of fiat and payment processing.
Yeah, and this all is being built, right? Like it's uncharted waters. And so proof of stake was a solution for the scalability issue that Ethereum had. And because proof of work, TBH, is not really that scalable. That's why you have high gas fees. That's why you have people concerned about the energy uses of NFTs. So proof of stake is a solution right now that is, looking as the best. But there's more to come. Proof of stake is like what?
That's what I always say when people criticize the crypto space. Well, what about this? Well, what about this? Okay, the first automobile that we built wasn't perfect, and it had many iterations and many generations. We went from landlines to now having supercomputers in our pockets. So things evolve as people and creatives get more and more into building this amazing network and an amazing platform of different projects and dApps and DeFi and everything. So it's so new still. I mean, it's within a decade, and for people to be criticizing this new technology, I think is a bit short-sighted.
It's usually with an agenda, right? JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon didn't shit. Sorry, can I cuss on this?
Yes.
Jamie Dimon didn't shit on Bitcoin for no reason and then accumulate a massive allocation. Cannabis didn't shit. I mean, tobacco industry didn't shit on cannabis and then silently get 70% of the patents over the last 60 years. Exactly. Pharmaceutical companies don't shit on cannabis and then get the patents so they can be ahead of the curve. There's almost always an agenda, or it's a lack of understanding and blaming somebody. Yeah. As
Jamie Dimon literally called Bitcoin a scam as he had a crypto desk actively researching cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So
yeah, it was insane. Yeah. And then, you know, JP Morgan and everyone's like shitting on on Bitcoin and crypto in the like 2018. And at the same time, like less than 6 months later, it comes out that they're investing. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a pretty ridiculous number into Bitcoin. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's okay. You know, people are going to judge, people are going to have negative thoughts, whatever. You know, honestly, being in the space for 4 years, it's funny because you know it's not true, and you like are building and you're educating others. But at the same time, there's still the thought of you wonder when others are going to get it, right? Yeah. And to Sholi's point, NFTs have really established that, right? I think to a degree, it was also like getting main media into it, celebrities, and blowing NFTs up, because CryptoKitties have been around for a while. And that brought the attention to people. I was like, okay, well, like, what does this technology actually do? Because the celebrity drops were pretty meh. But okay, what is an actual NFT? What is the actual usability and key benefits of NFTs? And you know, down the rabbit hole we go. So more innovation is going to come, more use cases are going to come. It's going to be in real world use cases. And the most important part, I think, is having users not have to use the product and thinking, oh, I'm using blockchain and crypto. No, like you're using the product. It's making a difference in your life. Your life is improving. You feel like you can trust. You feel like you know what's going on. You feel like you have control over your finances as well. You own the actual assets.
It's interesting, right? Like you don't play a video game and go, ooh, I'm using Linux.
Well, that's what I always say. It's like most people don't know how to write HTML code, but they know how to go on a website. So that's the metaphor I always use. It's like you go on Amazon.com, you know, you're not sitting there programming and reading code, you're just clicking. And so that's what's happening. It will be seamless sooner or later, and it's becoming seamless every day and more seamless. And so I think that's what's important, because I talk to a lot of people about crypto and Bitcoin and blockchain, and they go, well, I don't know anything about programming. And I'm like, well, you won't have to in a few more years. You know, you don't really have to now to understand the space. You really don't have to right now. You just have to understand the general concepts. And so I think as more mainstream adoption comes, that you know, people will feel more comfortable with cryptocurrency and blockchain. We do have to wrap up though, but I do want to hear what's next for Real Items and hear, you know, how people can check it out and maybe buy some NFTs or do a little research and get to know your projects.
Cool. I'll take this one. Yeah. So currently we're about to start doing some drops. One of them we're doing is with Beneath the Waves, which is an ocean conservation charity. So at, I guess I'll be old school, at www.nftg.live, that's NFTG, Non-Fungible Token Gallery.live. You can still buy memberships, which gives you access to be able to mint the NFTs that we drop on our platform. You can't get them any other way besides for the secondary market when they're resold. And you will have lost out on a lot of money at that point. We are tagging sharks in the real world with geolocation tags. And then your NFT image is a constantly updated JPEG of where your shark is in the ocean that you've named, that exists, that's real. And the rarity or the characteristics are governed by real world assets. Real Items powers that. Real Items doesn't have, we don't drop really NFTs directly. You can go and make your own NFT. You can timestamp a Bitcoin price onto a coffee mug and have the digital sent to you and then the physical sent to your home. It's interesting where this conversation started with NFTs and art, and Real Items really is an oracle for supporting the blend between the physical and the digital as we go into metaverses that we're creating. NFTG is the low-hanging fruit of, hey, here's what everybody else is doing, and get a membership and mint and make some money. But we also have yield farms and harvesting and tokens and a bunch of stuff that is way over the head of this. Probably. Does that answer the question?
It does. And you said that people can create their own NFTs from your platform.
We have, yes, on realitems.io, we have consumer-based and service-based. So you can go on, mint your own stuff. Companies can go on and set up their own dashboards to track their own products and print out QR codes and create their own supply chain system. The low-hanging fruit is NFTG.live, which is our DAO membership, decentralized autonomous organization, where as we drop Jeff Hamilton iterative drops and PFP drops and Rebbe drops, you can go and mint for free, essentially just the gas fee whenever we do these drops for a limited amount of time during the year. Once the memberships are gone, you'll have to buy a membership from somebody else.
Okay, guys, so you heard it here. Oh, sorry, Mel.
I was just going to say, and this is all for physical items, which is really cool because the majority out there is only for digital.
Nobody does this.
Nobody does this. So if you have any physical paintings or any cool physical products, or if you're a small business and you have like natural skincare and that kind of thing, I used to have one. That's why I call those that. But this is for you. This is for you to try out. And this is for you to experiment and see what innovation you can bring into your products. So really exciting.
Yeah, so you guys heard it here in Hello Crypto Kitty 2.0. You have no excuse. The decentralized revolution is happening and you can be a part of it and have your own NFTs. That's amazing. Guys, this has been Hello Crypto Kitty 2.0, the show about all things crypto. Check us out on rockfin.com/Rosie Tran. And as always, I'm on Twitter @FunnyRosie. And remember, as always, #not financial advice, #CypherKitty.